It's like that baby meme.
I feel underrepresented in this thumbnail. Just throwing that out there. Secondly, yo, how are we doing our call to actions tonight? Let's implement advice and strategies.
Provided to us.
Hello, welcome to Show Boys. Here we are. We're back. Nick and I are going to do a little what's watching, what's playing. It's been approximately 2.5 months of House of the Dragon. Eight weeks, I guess 2 months.
9 weeks actually, because we did an episode 0, so 9 weeks.
That's right. So 9 weeks of watching and playing stuff that we haven't gotten to talk about. So we're going to do that tonight. Before we do, though, we'd appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button, maybe like the video, leave a comment letting us know what you've been watching or playing lately. All these things really help us out if you're enjoying the content, find it valuable. But yeah, man, how you been?
I've been good. For everyone that tuned in for House of the Dragon, I constantly open there with our summer takeover, House of the Dragon invasion. Go check that playlist out on our YouTube channel and subscribe. Check out all of the many conversations that Chad and I had for every single episode of House of the Dragon. We really enjoyed that series. The internet, they don't know how they feel about things all the time, but man, if you like Game of Thrones and Westeros and all that jazz, you can't not watch it. But you can definitely watch it and complain about it. That is your right to do, and that is what people do aplenty on the internet. So, doing good.
Between season 2 of House of the Dragon and any Star Wars release, it's basically all the internet is filled with. But that's what you and Chad are here for, to explain to people why they should like it.
Yes, we do. And I mean, we plenty criticize it, but at the end of the day, like, we still recognize we're watching like top 1% of quality television out there. And people just get upset when it's not the best. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about gold, silver, and bronze. Like, we're talking about the Olympians here, and we're complaining that, we might be in the running for bronze or silver. Oh dear. Terrible show.
We meddled. Ugh.
Horrible.
Yeah. But yeah, go check that out. But tonight we're just gonna catch each other up on what we've been watching, playing. Contrary to the episode that released last week, I haven't podcasted with Nick in at least 9 weeks, or maybe sooner than that. But I was up in Ohio in the midst of House of the Dragon, and we squeezed a little podcast recording in while I was over there.
We have not been seen on the podcast together in like 9 weeks. Correct.
Yeah, and it's about to happen again here soon because we have Demon Slayer series coming. Chad and his son Brady will be going through. I don't remember what season number it is, but the latest season of Demon Slayer.
3 or 4.
Yeah, so I have
the most recent one. But if you do want to, catch Mike and I more, and that's really why you watch the whole podcast, is for us, you can go sign up on Patreon and you can check out our Pale Beyond series over there. I think that's how you get more Mike and Nick. And if you don't care about everyone else, especially Chad, like if you don't care about Chad, sign up for Patreon. You'll get more Chad.
He's not on any Patreon episodes.
If you like Chad, definitely sign up for Patreon.
Man, there was just a moment of bliss and enlightenment on the last Pale Beyond episode. It was crazy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. 3 episodes too late, but it was still great.
It took that to get there, though, man. It's not trial and error. It's like, actual trials that you must pass.
Yes,
and suffer through.
So I mean, I guess that could count as our first, what's playing thing. Combined what's playing. We've been playing through the Pale Beyond, last month or so. It's been really fun. Of course, sign up on Patreon and you can hear our extremely detailed conversations. We have about 3 or 4 hours worth of conversation revolving around that game so far.
My boy Hammond, shout out.
Yeah, super fun game made by Bellular Studios. And if you're if you were ever a fan of World of Warcraft, Bellular, that name might sound familiar to you. He was a really great World of Warcraft / Blizzard content creator on YouTube, going through WoW lore and patch notes and things like that. Started a game studio, made his own game, and the game's actually pretty sweet.
Speaking of WoW, and this is how crazy this conversation has multiple points. First off, I saw my nephew this weekend. The one that attributes me for getting him into gaming when he was like 7 or whatever. I made him do quests in WoW for me in the Grand on my Hunter alt.
Yes.
Anyway,
free child labor.
I was mentioning the Pale Beyond because he was like, I don't know. I don't have anything to play. I'm trying not to go back to World of Warcraft because the new expansion's coming out. And like, first off, I was like, well, I'm playing like Pale Beyond, cool little game. Beliar Stairs. Do you remember? I was like, do you remember like Beliar? Like he had a huge World of Warcraft channel. He's like, not really. I'm like, oof, there's like my age showing. Like
Yeah.
I'm referencing. This is weird though. Like I'm referencing like past YouTube content creators from literally 15 plus years ago. Then I'm like, ooh, it's 2024. That game has been out for 20 years and they're still like slamming. Like they have 3 expansions like teed up as part of like a trilogy. And so that was a really weird like moment. I'm like, whoa, one, like this game is multi-generational to the point where literally people don't remember internet content made for that game because it's been that long. Like we're talking that's the old internet too, like 2010.
Yeah.
Like that's archaic at this point. So that was a very like interesting feeling. Much different than when boomers feel old. Like when a millennial feels old, we're referencing like the infancy of modern internet.
Yeah. So my kids have absolutely no concept of time. My oldest is 9. Sure. So like they'll come in and be like, when the 80s episode of Bluey came out, and I was like, I was born in the 80s. They're like, what? And then they'll just
That's
randomly
1940, dude.
Right. And they'll just randomly come up and be like, when you were a kid, were the TV shows black and white? I'm like, bro, I am 37, not 87. Jeez.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man.
I'm impressed they know there's black and white television.
Well, they're an eclectic bunch, let me tell you, because when they hang out with Becca's parents, they watch all the like super old shows.
Oh, TV Land?
Yeah, like Leave It to Beaver. Still a thing? I don't know, but like Becca's mom got them the first season of Leave It to Beaver on DVD or something, and they love that show.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, they've watched a lot of black and white stuff. They're like, was it like that when you were a kid? I'm like,
the world. No, dude, you should lean into that and be like, kids, the world was literally black and white. There was no color. No color. Yeah. Nothing had color.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of WoW, man, every time they release a new expansion, I love watching the cinematic trailers for it. And then every time I do that, I'm like, why can't they just make an animated Netflix series like Arcane? I mean, it would literally be the best thing in the world. And then they never do. So I guess
yeah. Well, it does give me something to look forward to, that like every like 4 years or 2 years I can watch like the catch up like lore videos. Because I do like World of Warcraft lore, but I don't know. My nephew says it's getting weird. Like there's an inner Azeroth, like we're talking like center of the earth, journey to the center of earth stuff happening. So it's getting weird. Then he started telling me how like they're kind of just keeping people around for like nostalgia's sake, like Thrall and like characters that really should have like left the narrative a long time ago. But you know,
yeah, there better be some like King Kong Godzilla Easter egg references in the Hollow Azeroth.
Oh yeah, they're good at that. They always reference pop culture, so I wonder if there will be anything like that. Like there's a boss where you have to fight a giant gorilla.
Yeah. And he's wielding like a baby gorilla as his weapon.
Yes. That's the heroic mode where you like trigger the hard mode on the boss. He gets a baby gorilla to wield.
Yeah, you'll
Who's
be well, I don't know if you'll be happy, but you might be happy to know that
now
in the latest season of Pokeboys, as we
Pokey
play,
Boys.
yeah, as we go through the Pokemon games, whatever, like we always have to nickname the Pokemon we catch and use. And there have been a couple of cool like dragon type Pokemon that look really cool that I've named after kaiju, mostly from Godzilla. And I had this really awesome ice dragon Kirim that I named Shimu after that little ice kaiju that
Very appropriate.
destroyed Rio Grande in the
Yeah.
movie. So, anyways, so we've been talking for like 15 minutes. What's one thing you've been watching or playing?
I'll start watching. I am happily rewatching a series that I hold dear to myself, and it's Silicon Valley. I really like that show. I watched it obviously when it was coming out. This was like like 2015 ish era, whatever the double O, the 2010s. Is that what we reference those as? The 20 teens, but HBO show, very awesome, great cast, and to me, it holds a special place in my heart because for years, luckily I don't work in the office anymore, and I don't have to engage with like a ton of people that have weird opinions. But for years, people have told me like, watch Big Bang Theory, you'd like it because you're smart. And in like a very roundabout way, I learned that like that's kind of insulting to me because yeah, I am actually smart, and that show is dumb.
That show
So
sucks.
yeah, so to me, it's like, okay, yeah, Big Bang Theory is funny to people who get like pop culture, like intelligence and that level of smartness. But like for people who are actually smart, watch Silicon Valley because like that is engineer, tech, nerd, like humor. And it's hilarious and it's a very good show. Short episodes too, like we're talking 30 minutes, so you can sit down and like 20-30 minutes, I think, or something like that. But you can really breeze through it. Like I was halfway through the series before I knew it. I think there's 4 seasons. So I'm already on like end of season 2, about to start season 3. So it's a nice
wow.
like before bed, like play on your phone, listen to them banter. Great cast that mostly has gone on to do other things. I know you were talking about was it the big? Was you say sick?
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah.
Yeah, he of course probably most known for his role in the Eternals.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Little cameo role in, I want to say Andor. No, Mandalorian. He played a little guy there. But yeah, I think Silicon Valley was his first like
pretty
entrance into acting.
Yeah, pretty early, and there's 6 seasons, so I'm not
wow.
halfway through, but it's quick. It's a quick burn, and the episodes go 8, 10, 10, 10, 8, 7. So it's like a really weird HBO thing where they're jumping around.
Yeah.
But it's Thomas Middleditch. He hasn't really done a ton of things. He was like in a commercial actually for the Super Bowl last year. That was really
Yeah.
random.
He was
But TJ
in
Mill.
either King of the Monsters or
That's right.
New
He wasn't.
Empire.
Yeah.
Is one of I think it's King of the Monsters.
King of the Monsters, yeah. He was in the most recent one. TJ Miller, obviously, he's kind of all over the place.
Deadpool.
Josh Brenner, Martin Starr, and then the Kamali Nanjiani. So there's a handful of people in there that are pretty good, and they've gone on to do pretty notable things since then. But if you want like young them and like funny them, definitely Silicon Valley's the way to go.
Dude, oh man. Okay, that's what I was gonna tell you before we started recording.
Oh yeah.
I know Kumail Nanjiani from his random, like super old video game podcast called The Indoor
That's
Kids.
right. Yeah.
I forget how I started listening to it. I think, do you remember Ryan my buddy who
Yeah.
helped us with the Discord and everything.
Yeah.
Shout out Fortress Tiberius. I think he told me about it. I'm talking like many years ago, like 10 plus years ago.
Old internet.
Yeah.
Old modern internet.
I listened to so much of that podcast. It was him, and he had a co-host for a while, and
Was it
then
was it
he ended
was it video or audio only?
audio. It was audio.
Whoa.
Yeah. But then his co-host ended up being his wife. Like she replaced the co-host. I don't remember why exactly, but it was super good. They would have like people like Adam Sessler and stuff on, and honestly, it was a lot of it was like them just talking about what they were playing, kind of like what we are doing
Yeah.
tonight. But they would interview people from the industry and stuff, talk about like gaming related topics and all that stuff, and it was really funny. Yeah, I used to listen to it all the time, all the time. I think you might still be able to find them episodes somewhere on the internet, but I don't know. I don't know if he would if he, in the state of society over the last 4, 5, 6 years, maybe scrub them from the internet, especially trying to work with Disney and stuff. I'm sure there's jokes made on that podcast.
Oh man, he's so funny. He's
cannot.
got such good humor. He's so
funny.
That's the thing about that show too, is like, I mean, obviously I don't expect the actors to like know necessarily all of that, but they really portray it like they are those nerds, like they get it. And it makes sense that he comes from that kind of background too.
Yeah.
Because the humor in that show is like, I'm watching it and I can totally get, like, Aaron originally watched it with me when we watched it, like, 6 years ago at this point. And there's things that like a lot of people might not get because it's just not that type of humor. And some of it is like literally you have to know software engineers to get like the humor that they're talking about. And it's just a good time. And a lot of them are just like these completely normal conversations they're having in the episode about something, and it's like normal and like not funny to them, but it's hilarious like that they're having those conversations. So it's a good watch, for sure. And it's fun because they pick on, it's set in Silicon Valley, obviously. So they pick on like your typical like big tech archetypes for like your Musks, your Steve Jobs, right? They have all your kind of stand-ins there that are kind of the it's funny, they treat them kind of like you're kind of like boss NPCs that like the playable characters have to like get around and deal with all the time. So it's fun. It's just a fun way that they set that show up.
That's awesome.
And the things that happen are just like, it's funny because those characters just like the big characters that are meant to represent like the Musks and the Steve Jobs are like comedically ironic and cliche, and that's the fun part about it. So it's a cool
Nice.
show. I love that show. I'm glad I'm rewatching it, and I'm always happy to rewatch a show because like it just helps like cement it in. Like I'm like, yeah, it's made it to the
Right.
rewatch stage.
Right. Kind of playing off the rewatch thing, I've recently rewatched Godzilla 2014. We've been made a few Godzilla references, but probably because it's fresh on my mind. And dude, oh my gosh, that movie's so great. I love that movie so much.
Well, when you said you were rewatching, I'm like, oh, I should rewatch that. And then you're rewatching Fury for like a random some reason. I know why, but like if you watch last week's episode, we know why. And I went and saw Fury in the movie theater. I have a shirt that says Fury because they're handing out swag at at Tinseltown for it.
Yeah, that was a great movie in theater. Holy cow!
Did you watch it in theaters? Did we go together? No, but
no, we should have. I don't even know if we knew each other then. When did that come out?
I definitely lived in Canton. I definitely worked at PLM. I just don't think we were sociable at that point in our tenures.
We hadn't connected.
I don't even know
emotionally.
How got an office, and no, it was before I had an office. Definitely when I had an office is when it really went downhill in terms of who I socialized.
Yeah, because we just like stared at each other all day, so and shot Nerf guns at each other.
Oh,
That
I
was the
forgot
best.
we had Nerf
That was the
guns.
best. Anyways,
The little
yeah,
things.
Godzilla 2014 is an awesome rewatch. What made me want to rewatch it is it was on Netflix for a short period of time. Left Netflix, but it's on Max now, so caught it on there. And then, like you said, I did rewatch Fury, and of course, if you watched the World War II cinematic universe, I had mentioned wanting to rewatch that movie. Honestly, it was thanks to the Fat Electrician on YouTube. Um,
Oh yeah.
Dude, first off, if you're into war stuff, you have to watch the Fat Electrician because his videos, one, are hilarious, and two, are informational, and three, he just tells some of the most absolutely insane war stories, like of historical figures. It's nuts. But he had a video talking about War Daddy, the tank general commander. I forget exactly whatever. That Fury's based on, and I was like, "Oh crap, dude! This movie was amazing. I need to rewatch it." And I did, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay." So they didn't really follow too much of the actual War Daddy like stories, but the character Brad Pitt plays is based on him. So there's at least that, and his nickname actually was War Daddy in real life, and that's his name in the movie. So I guess they got that right. Good rewatch though. That's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's pretty great. I also didn't know David Ayer did that movie.
Mm.
It's a great director. So when I saw his name pop up at the end when
Ayer.
credits were rolling, I was like, okay,
My man.
okay.
Is that one of those things though? At the time, you wouldn't have understood that, and now you get it after it's been like 8 years since that movie came out.
What, that David Ayer is awesome?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I probably wouldn't have cared back then.
Right.
Um,
Those are
yeah,
always fun.
so I rewatched those, but I have. Well, I guess we'll just build off of last week's episode. It's the only war type thing I'm going to talk about watching.
Just
I have
that's
a weird
it. That
one.
one.
Just
Godzilla
one.
counted though.
Technically, you're right. Technically. But this one is very directly related, and it's the thumbnail directly above me. And that is the extremely intense and epic World War I movie, 1917. Dude, have you seen this movie?
No, there's a huge backlog of of just war movies that I have been neglecting for like the past 4 years at least. So I need to just go backwards in time, and I need a list of all this important war movies that have come out in the past like 6 years, so I can comb through that list. And
Well,
you're probably building half of it for me.
yeah, you know what? I got you covered because as psychotic as it's going to sound, I'm going to share something with
Oh,
the
dear.
viewers. I do, in fact, track games that I play, and I've started to track shows and movies that I
Sheesh.
watched throughout the year, uh, solely for our podcasting purposes, mainly for our end of the year like Showboys awards. Because by the time we get to the end of the year, I'm like, oh crap, I don't remember what I played or watched,
Mm,
so this is going to be very hard. But luckily for you,
holy Lord.
yeah, this list about 80% war movies and shows. So I got you covered, Nick.
Wow, dude. Wait,
I
oh,
got
never
you
mind.
covered, dude.
Wow, bro.
And hey, if anyone wants
Don't
to
do
see my
it.
crazy logs, just let me know.
Don't.
Maybe I'll share it with you. But yeah, 1917. Holy cow, this is a great movie. Came out a handful of years ago. It's not super old. I don't say maybe like 2 or 3 years ago.
It's like a 22 movie, I think.
Yeah. Uh, but it follows two British soldiers who are sent to deliver a message to another platoon in a different city to call off their scheduled attack and push on the German front line because intelligence has found out that the Germans retreat is really a false retreat, and they're just kind of setting up a trap. Which at the end of the day, that doesn't sound like a super exciting premise for a war movie. We're
No,
following
sounds
two
dope.
people delivering a message. Okay,
Yep.
that doesn't sound that great. Except the movie is filmed in a fashion to make you think that the entire thing is one shot. Clearly, I don't think it's possible to have done that, to film an entire, almost 2-hour movie continuously with no cuts for edits or mess ups or anything like that. But the way that they spliced it together and edited it together, it was very hard to tell. And I found myself most of the time, while I was paying attention, of course, to the movie, the story, what was happening, I was also like trying to spot the moments where I was like, okay, that's probably where they cut that scene. Um, it's filmed amazingly,
Mm.
and that style,
I'm watching it tonight.
dude, you really should.
Is it on
Uh,
Max?
it's on Netflix.
Fine with me.
Yeah, but being shot in that fashion just really ups the intensity of everything that's happening, because you're basically like in the face of the two guys delivering this message, right? Um, and yeah, it's just hectic, it's chaotic, it's trench warfare. They're like, yeah, I don't want to give away too much, but I mean, I think the little bit of the thumbnail you can see above me displays pretty good sense of the chaos of World War One and the trench warfare and all that stuff. But it's really good. It's really good. Um, the two soldiers acted phenomenally. I was really kind of invested in their mission, if they were going to be able to succeed or not. And yeah, just on the edge of my seat the whole time I watched it. Definitely highly recommend. Really wish I would have been able to see that in theater, because that would have been a spectacle.
Yeah, it probably had a weird theater release, but due to COVID.
Mm,
But yeah, World War
which-
Two or World War One is so interesting, just because it's in this really unique. And we've talked about this last week, like this unique, once in a lifetime period of like human warfare, where we were
so
transitioning from
brutal.
like we still march in lines with muskets at each other to where, all right, our muskets are too good. We need to dig trenches so we don't absolutely just obliterate each other instantly,
Yeah,
because we have like machine guns now. So
right.
let's go into the trenches. But also, we have these things called armor, which is tanks, and they just kind of roll over the trenches and just
Yeah.
also obliterate everything in their sight, anyways.
We also
Um,
have airplanes that can
and
shoot you
airplanes,
now.
yeah. Granted, not great, archaic like biplanes,
Yeah,
but like they have machine guns on them, and they
yeah,
just kind
but
of
they're not
zip around.
horses anymore.
But they still are using a lot of horses. Actually, it's
Yeah.
great horses, because horses were like a huge part of even like the Nazi military,
Yeah.
because all the armor and like like motorized machine was on like the front lines, but the entire backline supply chain was horses, which is
Hmm.
nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, more fun details about World War One and Two, but yeah, the trench warfare. Like at least we knew in World War Two, we're like, yeah, let's not do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, so looks like this movie came out in January of 2020, so like right on
Oh,
the cusp
oh,
of
right before.
COVID.
Never mind.
Yeah. Um but yeah, man,
Good for it.
just
You know,
Wor- World
that's
War
how I feel
One
about
was just absolutely brutal. So brutal.
that's the feeling I have for the Amazon series with Orlando Bloom that we were big on, but like it
Oh,
died.
Carnival Row.
Carnival Row. That was also like a January February 2020 thing, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like life is great. Like I hope this series has a really good run, and then just like
Rip.
nuked. If granted, in 2023 or I think 23 they came out of the second season, but they were like, this is it. And I feel like they just had stuff. Everyone had moved
Yeah.
on. They're like, let's splice it together and push it out and call it
Yeah,
a
they
day.
probably I haven't watched, and I I doubt I will watch the second season of Carnival Row,
We
but
watched
they
one
probably should
episode.
have just left it at one season and been like,
Yep.
well, that was a
That
valiant
was
effort.
fun. Yep. One hoorah.
um, but yeah, 1917, recommend. You should definitely watch it. Um, that, and then if you're fascinated by World War One. I talked about All Quiet on the Western Front remake in our 2023 year end awards. I squeezed that one in at the end of the year last year. Also on Netflix, also extremely good. Both phenomenal World War One movies.
There's enough years in history, that's a funny statement, where they should just make movies and name them after the year. So it's really easy to like piece together a timeline of movies to watch, like
Yeah.
1517. Here's what happened that you need to know about.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I'm not pointing any fingers, but I'm just saying the Germans did start the two biggest wars that have happened on the face of the planet. Just saying. What are you guys doing over there?
Oh, yeah, they're busy. Bismarck, he has ants in his pants, and then this dude named Hitler was like, "Yo, that again.
It's
Let's
like
go.
hold my beer."
That again. But let's add some
World domination.
yeah, and all kinds of other human atrocities in there too. Like let's just really egg it on. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with the Germans. They weren't allowed to have a military for a long time. They have a military again.
Maybe that's not a wise decision.
Hey, we can't
Oh,
suppress
man.
people these days. Like
That's true.
they have a right to having a military, right?
Plus, have you seen Europe lately? I mean, like, is anyone really afraid of of them over there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just move on to my next what's playing because it's tied
Okay.
together. We'll just stay in the World War One rabbit hole, foxhole trench for the moment, and then I won't talk about any war stuff for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, but we have to fully bask in your early onset republicanism.
We just did that last week for like 2 hours.
Yeah,
Go listen to that episode if you haven't, because
please don't.
I haven't
I'm
seen
so worried about it.
I haven't listened or
I
watched
know.
the edited version,
I don't think
but
we
the
should.
unedited version was lit. That was a great conversation.
Oh dear.
And I'm sure that's on Patreon, so that probably would be worth the $3 in of itself. But yeah, so I also on this kick, actually, what made me excited to watch 1917 was my recent playthrough of a pretty old Switch game called Valiant Hearts: The Great War. A nice, cozy, I use that term very loosely and only because of the graphic style, puzzle game based on World War One that tells 3 or 4 intertwined stories of different characters across the front lines of World War One through various puzzles and things like that. The art style is really good. It's that hand drawn, almost cell shaded, comic-y style graphic. The story is so good and heart wrenching, like very heart wrenching, especially the end. And on top of that, they do this really awesome thing where there's like a secondary menu if you choose to dig into it. It's not like made, you're not made aware of it. You're not forced into it using it or anything like that. But when you start each level, there's a menu that pops up or that you can go into that will give you like 2 to 4 like facts about the war in whatever town you're in or whatever battle you're about to go into. And it was really cool. They like teamed up. I'll try to find the name of the foundation or company or whatever that they teamed up with to provide all these facts and stuff, but it was really, really cool. So not only was I having fun playing a puzzle game, having my heart just like ripped out of my chest through this just really sad and interesting story, but I was also learning facts about World War One. It was really, really cool.
That's what it's all about.
I don't know. Are you into puzzle games, Nick?
I can't say like actively. If it was like a Steam Deck verified game, potentially. I should be, but I do not actively play puzzle games to answer your question. I think I need a good like reference. Like you should go play this puzzle game because it's awesome.
This would be one because I actually don't like puzzle games at all.
Okay.
I've never sat down and been like, I'm just really craving a puzzle game. And that is essentially the only mechanic in this game are solving the little puzzles to continue the story.
Speaking
but
of puzzle games,
Yeah.
you have one over there on your counter. Like all of those freaking off-brand Stanleys, like putting all those back together, like that's a puzzle game in itself. There's like 3 of those, like at least 3 water cups over there.
Yeah,
Of the
dude.
like, does each of your kids get one?
There's
Then
1,
you and
2,
your wife?
4, 5. There's 6 over there
Oh,
drying,
wow.
and this is what I use. So that's my wife alone has 3 cups over
You can
there,
tell her tomorrow morning that I judge her.
and then I have 3 children. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Sorry, continue. Puzzle games, war.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of puzzle games at all. But this one was done in a great way. The puzzles, most of them are pretty simple. There are a few like quote unquote challenging puzzles, but by challenging I mean they're just a little bit harder than like Braden and Simple, which is fine because I think what this game does best is present a very gripping story set in World War One, and the puzzles just kind of like they have to have a game mechanic to tell, to
Right.
make a game, right? And this just allows them to tell a really good story that probably wouldn't make sense as like a shooter or something like that, right?
Right.
So yeah, I just played it in my spare time on the Switch, and I think it was only like a 6 to maybe 8 hour game. It's not very long at all. I do think it's on Steam. Let me check that, but I can't quickly find the foundation or whatever that that provides a lot of the facts and stuff in the game, because I thought that was one of my favorite parts actually was getting into each new map or level or whatever, and then reading the like handful of facts they provided.
And that helps out that you're on this huge World War cinematic universe kick. That makes you more likely to read all that because you're like, this is really cool.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because if I wasn't in the midst of this crazy kick, I probably wouldn't have read any of it or appreciated it at all. It is playable on the Steam Deck. It's not verified, but
yeah, that's workable.
The way it works, I would imagine it basically is verified. Like there aren't many controls, so
basically.
I don't know how it's right now. I think it's $14 on Steam. Full price. I'm sure you can, get
$2 sale.
Yeah. But yeah, what have you been? What else have you been watching or playing? Whoops! I meant to remove that.
Whoa! Spreadsheet porn. Just like throwing that up. So one thing I've been watching that is I'm super excited about. It's called The Bear. I swore you watched this, but I guess you haven't.
No, it was Chef Yak from our Discord.
Yeah. So The Bear, I know why he likes it because it's an intelligent, witty, very like hyper specific show about like working in a kitchen or being a chef.
Yeah.
It's also hyper crude because we're talking about a Chicago like family owned restaurant. So our boy Jeremy Allen White there, like a mess. Like him and his family, like lots of swearing, lots of fighting. Like it's also kind of it's nice because it reminds me of like how my friends from back home, like how we all behave. Like everything's a constant like pick on, fight, swearing, like everything's offensive. And that's what's great about it. And it's a great show. It's one of those like newer shows that really dials in on like very interpersonal like aspects of people's personality and like the psychology of like why they are the way they are.
Hmm.
From the point of like they grew up that way and like how they deal with that in like a adult fashion. It's real mature in that sense, but the other side of it is like it is also the hyper pressure of being a chef, a cook, working in a restaurant. And it's also fun because if you enjoy like fancy food and the delicacies of that and the intricacies of um, you know food, they also dial in on those details. So from that perspective, it's really cool. But the acting's also really awesome. Um, and they have really good cameos too in terms of people that pop in there. I think did my wife say it's the mom from Parent Trap is in there. She's like the mom of the family that you kind of see occasionally. Um, John Berthenol or Bernthal, how you say his name?
Barenthal.
Barenthal. He's in there.
Oh wow.
He plays a character that isn't present like in present day, but he's in the flashbacks. And then like even randomly you'll have appearances from oh shoot, Community, Joel McHale from
Oh
Community.
really?
Yeah, he's in there. He's actually the main character, Jeremy Allen White's character, like his kind of like basically Jeremy Allen White's character, he left his chaotic insane family in Chicago. His brother ran the restaurant, the family restaurant. His brother wouldn't let him work there, so like he dipped to go become like a legit chef, like schooling and like worked at the nicest restaurant literally in the world. And like his boss was uh, Joe McHale. So like you get like those different things, and then he comes back and he has to like run this restaurant.
Hmm.
So it's a really cool show. And like it deals there's a lot of family reasons and like issues that he has to deal with simultaneously while also having to he wants to make this restaurant into like a legit business and like a very successful fancy restaurant. So there's this new character that starts working with them. She kind of like is on the same page, like she wants to also do that, but they also have to deal with all of the the established staff that have worked there forever and they want no change, right?
Mm.
So like the first season's a lot about like overcoming that, where you have like not legit chefs, but like professional chef mentality conflicting with the more like homegrown chef mentality, kitchen
Mm.
mentality. So there's a lot of cool dynamics. The show is you would like it, Mike, because the intro is never the same. Sometimes there isn't an intro, so they're super clever there.
Nice.
Randomly, there was an episode where we paused it. We're like, "Is this gonna like? Where are we? Like, how long is this going on?" It was an They're 30-minute episodes,
Yeah.
like all the time. This one was an hour, and it was a flashback episode, so it was insane. So they do really clever things in terms of
Nice.
like the structure of the episode is not predictable. It really jives with the theme and like what they're covering in the episode, which is really fun too. So really, it's super unpredictable, and I like that in a show where like you're not following a formula. Like they let the story like determine the format of
Yeah.
the episode, and I love that. So
Yeah.
it's super creative in that respect.
That's awesome.
And they play a lot off of like sound, um, and like pacing and music. Like I can tell like how an episode might be by the
Hmm.
way it starts. because like sometimes they like one of the more recent ones, the finale for season 2, which we watched last night. They will at different times, if at all, show the actors' names. The intro was just a black screen and their names were just flashing at like a weird offbeat like pace with like this beat behind it. And I was like, okay, this show, like, it's the finale, like it's playing into the intensity of like this restaurant reopening. So they do very creative things like that in terms of the show itself, which is fun.
Nice. And it's a Hulu show, right?
So it's an FX original, which gets you on Hulu, which also gets you through Disney Plus.
Like, do you have to have a Hulu subscription through Disney Plus, or can I just watch it on Disney Plus?
I think these days it's just Disney Plus. I don't know if they charge.
It's hard to keep track of all this crap. No,
especially now since they completed that merge. I don't know if it's like an extra price for both or if it's all one now. I don't know. It'd be worth trying because I know you can't even tell the difference. Like you literally just go into like Hulu's its own like button, but also their banner has Hulu stuff in it, which I have issue with because Disney Plus for a long time was a very like family kid oriented platform. But now when you pop it open, first it was like the latest season of American Horror Story, which had this really crazy spider lady, and I'm like literally terrified.
Kids go on here to watch Bluey.
Yeah, like recently watched is like the second layer, and it's like all family stuff, and they have that, and then like now they're advertising Alien Romulus, which has like the alien in its most freaky form, like just right there. And my son's like, "Oh, scary bug!" Like what? And one day
I can imagine him saying that too.
Yeah. And he was like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's an alien. It's really scary." He's like, "Ugh.
Scary bug."
Dude, yeah. So, and I get like they have kids profiles, but
yeah,
the other problem there is like I think I just have to tweak his to be not G because I was like, G, he's a kid. Well, no, for whatever reason, you lose like 70% of the content he would normally watch because like maybe it's not technically G, maybe it's technically PG or Y7 or whatever. But
yeah,
if you go on there, like for example, Cars. There's a ton of Cars shorts. There's a Cars series, but if you put in Cars on his profile, only like 10% of the Cars stuff shows up.
Oh,
it's
weird.
Like really weirdly truncated and filtered down. So I don't know if but it's like it's annoying because it's like I just want to pop open our profile and watch it without the latest Hulu freak show like showing up on like the banner. It's like, come on. Like that's terrible.
Side note, I do kind of want to see Alien Romulus though.
That's what I mean, but like just throw up the text in the cool thing that says Alien Romulus and it's like green. Don't like literally put the alien spoiler. These kids haven't seen it. Don't spoil it for them. Let them watch it later. Like, oh, Alien, it's gonna be fun. No, it's not. I guess at least they don't have a face hugger like on there.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. That's my rant about the Hulu Disney Plus merge.
Come on, Disney, get your stuff together.
Jerks.
The Bear. Yeah.
Bear. Highly recommend. Aaron watches it with me. We love it. We've been binging it.
I know Chef Yak was talking it up while in his stay in our Discord. But yeah, I think this show gets a lot of praise. I've seen it get praise.
It's so good
from more than just you and Chef. Yeah, might have to check it out sometime. I'm gonna have to see how confusing accessing Hulu through Disney Plus will be because I don't have Hulu, but I do have Disney Plus. So we'll see. We'll see.
Definitely report back if that works out for you.
Yeah.
Alex Moffat's in it. It's a bunch of random people that are like constantly just popping up in that show.
Nice. Is Jared Harris in it?
No, unfortunately not. But Oliver Platt is, and you know him if you saw him. There's a lot of those people in this show for sure.
All right, now I just gotta Google Oliver Platt. Oh, yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, he's been around.
Okay, believe it or not, I have watched a few things, not many, but a few things that are not war related.
Really?
Um,
Prove
one
it.
of them was the latest Austin Butler movie, The Bike Riders.
Oh, that's right. You went to the theater and saw that.
I did. Yeah, there is a theater like 1 mile from my house.
But it's
So
like a peasant theater. They don't even have like luxury loungers.
yeah, I mean it's a big theater, but
Okay.
it's not updated. It is not up to date. There is another theater that's maybe like 20 minutes from me. So not very far, a little bit further than it would have been for me to go from my old house in Ohio to Tinseltown. So it's not like
I guess.
a crazy drive to go see a movie. But I heard that theater is much nicer than this one. So at some point, I'm going to have to venture out and
Yeah,
check
but
out
that's like
Gulf
a
Coast.
Florida much nicer.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Because
It,
when I was up there in Ohio in July, dude, I went to Tinseltown twice, and I was like, "Holy crap!
home again, home again.
I miss these luxury loungers, dude."
Well, here's the thing, though, in defense of the Florida theaters, is like they're probably not. I feel like they're fewer and far between, perhaps, based on how you're describing, and you live in a like populated area. Because
Mhm.
if that were Ohio, there would be 8 theaters.
Yeah, because in our town in Ohio, the two theaters are like not even half a mile from each other.
And they're owned by the same person, like same
Yeah,
company. They're
same
both
company.
Cinemarks, just 2 different formats.
Yeah.
But then even then, there's a theater then like 15 minutes into the next town, 15 minutes north into the other town. But in defense of Florida, they probably don't really need like what I mean. They get their people there, and they don't have to they don't have to coerce Floridians be like come to the theater like
Mhm.
because they with our luxury loungers because in Ohio there isn't that much to do. We don't have beaches, so
Yeah.
you know the theaters are more of just like a necessity, whereas here like you're like yeah you got to really convince us to like leave our houses.
Yeah, the theater, I mean, even though this one's not very updated, it still gets very busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and I think it's just
They
like,
just don't know. They're ignorant down there.
yeah,
They don't know
they
these
haven't
nice
experienced,
Midwest.
yeah, the absolute treasure that a Cinemark theater in Northeast Ohio, like,
Yep.
geez. But yeah, anyways, The Bike Riders, great
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
I saw it, ironically, while I was in Ohio at Tinseltown in the
Shut.
luxury lounger, bro. Oh, it's a great movie. I will say, I was caught by surprise because it was not what I expected,
Ooh.
but it was still very good, and I still would probably watch it again. Um, with that said, Tom Hardy and Austin Butler, they're the main characters here, and I don't want to get like too much into the story because I think you want to watch this, right?
I do.
Yeah, and I don't want to like spoil anything
Don't
for you,
spoil
but
my Austin Butler movie going experience.
Bike Riders about motorcycle gang.
Vroom, vroom.
Um,
Gang,
it's
gang.
it's it's really good, and Tom Hardy and Austin Butler are really good. Um, Butler plays, basically Elvis as a motorcyclist, which essentially was his role in Masters of the Air. Elvis as a as a bomber pilot. So
Now pause. Now, have you seen the articles where like I don't know if it's his mother or who it was, but someone was like, yeah, he played Elvis and then he never dropped the Elvis thing.
yeah,
Like he just normally talks kind of like with that like twang
yeah,
in his voice. And I'm like, that's awesome.
yeah. But I will say, you know, it did catch me by surprise. It wasn't what I was expecting. But like I said, that was kind of a good thing, like in a good way. And the presentation, how the story is
Mhm.
unfolded for the audience, is done in a very clever way that I loved. And the way it's done, Yeah, it was just done super well, and if you watch it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I don't want to like give it away. Um, but yeah, recommend it. It's very good. I don't think it's in theaters anymore. That was
80% on Rotten
ooh,
Tomatoes.
80%. Nice. I don't
I
know
think
when
we're I
it'll
think
hit.
we're probably in that limbo, like where I can't watch it until
Right. I don't know when it'll go to streaming or
it's
be
rentable
of
right
it.
now.
Oh, it is rentable. Okay.
$20 everywhere.
We've
What the
already
heck?
had that discussion. If you let me just say something.
Uh-oh.
If you're listening
Here it comes.
and you rent a movie for $20, you're literally stupid. Just do what Chad did, pay $5 extra and buy it, or wait till it like is actually a rentable price.
Watch this movie. Okay, I think it's no, see, they're doing that weird thing where it's like a buy only option and then it will come to rent. So like that's the also a newer trend with our modern release thing. So it's like we're shifting back into theaters. But then they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll hit the VOD for like full movie price
Yeah.
earlier than streaming," which I get.
Yeah. And I mean, whatever, paying $20 to buy the movie, whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, it's still a digital copy, so I think it's still not worth $20, but at least it
But
doesn't go away.
but it's just crazy because you could I'm pretty sure back in the day, like renting came before buying, even to a moderate degree. So
Yeah,
it's
because
just like a weird
it hit
shit.
like Blockbuster or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, because that was the point. Because they wanted to draw people into the blockbusters and
Yeah.
the movie rental places. So they were like, "Hey, rent before you buy," which is still in this line of thought where it's like, yeah, before it was more customer like consumer focus where it's like you want to try it like for $3 before you like commit to buying, but now it's like, hey, if you didn't catch it in theaters you can just buy the whole thing for like 20-25 bucks and
Yeah.
maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like things have reversed and it's annoying.
It is. It's good though. I recommend it.
Good.
Catch it when it comes out streaming, whenever that might be. I know I said I'm not going to talk about war stuff, but you said 80% Rotten Tomatoes, and I still have the Google page for 1917 open. It got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh, trying to one up me, bro.
It's pretty high. But yeah, have you watched or played anything else?
Man, yeah, Silicon Valley, The Bear, those are the big ones for watching. Have I been watching? Oh, I finished the latest season of Rick and Morty. Definitely recommend because I had to Google it because it was one of those moments where I was like, it's a weird thing to Google, but I can't be the only person. But I like this season was so intriguing because I was like, is this season good? Like I wanted to see what everyone else thought. And there's a decent like discussion across the internet and then particularly on Reddit where I was hanging out where people were like, yo, this is like definitely like they're ranking all 7 seasons and like this one's pretty high. So it's like Rick and Morty hit that like that beginning peak and like the consensus kind of seems like 1 and 2 good, 3, 4, 5 I think were like a slump for some people and like 6, 7 comes back out of it. So it's like they're getting their footing there where I think like for a few years people are like, like I think they're kind of losing their touch, but like season 6 and 7 are pretty good.
Nice.
I like season 7 a lot of Rick and Morty. That's not like a main point. I just wanted to throw that out there that I did watch.
Have they gone back to Rick Landis? Because that might
Yes,
be one of my favorite episodes.
not
Just Morty's
directly,
being Morty.
but they're being very conscientious of the meta because that's a big thing in Rick and Morty is like what is the meta doing, and
Mm,
they're definitely embracing the meta and acknowledging it a little bit more directly, which I think is healthy to do because people kind of expect that, but they do it in really clever ways. And they don't do it all the time. And the weird thing about season 7, this isn't really a spoiler, but like the big meta episode is like mid-season. It's not the finale, for example, like you would expect it to be, like it has been in the past. And I think that's where like people always constantly got misled, where they're like, "Oh, the last episode's it's going to be the big meta episode." It's not. Um, and the way they handled the meta episode and then the subsequent episodes in season 7, really clever and really cool. Because man, yeah, that would be cool to talk about, because it's kind of like in a story, like what do you do when the most climatic thing that everyone looks forward to happens before you know it and it's over, but it's like we still have more story to tell, like episodes to tell. So it's like what happens after like you beat Sauron, and like Frodo goes off to the far
Yeah.
the far west. It's that they deal with that anticlimactic like rollout, and the big thing that everyone was like waiting for happened, and it's not that big a deal. Like life still goes on, and it was amazing.
That's funny.
So yeah, they're continually to be creative there, which is really nice to see.
Nice.
And it was a good season, so I do recommend if anyone's behind on Rick and Morty and you did enjoy it initially, push back through it and get to it. But yeah, House of the Dragon, that obviously took up a big chunk of my summer. Look forward to that every Sunday. I don't have anything to watch on a Sunday anymore. But what I have been filling my time with is a What's Playing, which is really rare for me. I'm like, besides Pale Beyond, I am the Pale God at this point. If you watch our sign up on Patreon, you can check out why I am the Pale God. I've cracked the code on that game, and I'm proud of it.
That's right. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel and like and comment.
If you like what you hear, if you don't, whatever, keep listening and don't subscribe. Be part of that statistic in our analytics where it says viewers, but unsubscribed. Be that weird portion of the
just be weird, I
population.
guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of Horizon Forbidden West, which I'm really happy about.
Finally getting around to playing this, huh?
Finally cracked that one open.
Only for like 3 years.
2. I think it came out in 22. But I started it. I started this year. I definitely started it like beginning of this year and got like through the intro. And the great thing about, first off, for a sequel to an amazing game, I don't think they could have messed it up, because all they had to do was just expand on everything they did in the first one. And they do it in a very clever, cool way, because you start the game, the second one here, as you were almost effectively, like as you were.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, the first like intro area, which is huge, by the way, like it's like the size of most games, I feel like sometimes. But like this intro area is like super introductory, and you're like, oh, this is all familiar. Like this is a lot of the same stuff. It's kind of like a refresh of what you just did.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, this is cool. And then they're like, hey, here's some new things. Here's some new stuff. You're like, oh, this is really interesting. And you go into like the next like opening of the world, which is massive. And but you still have the sense of like, I still feel like I'm in the intro to this game.
Yeah.
And like you get 20-30 hours in. I was like 35 hours in. Like, no, I was 25 hours into the game. And it kind of starts at that point. Like, I would say the first 20 hours of this game is like getting started.
So is this Red Dead Redemption 2, but robot dinosaur version?
Yeah, kind of. Like they spend 5 to 10 hours just like refreshing you and getting you up to speed on like what they've added and improved upon that previously existed. Then they spend 10 hours like, hey, here's all the new stuff that you have to like get used to and like learn and enjoy. And then, hey, the story really doesn't start until like hour 25.
Sheesh.
Granted, I'm a little bit of a completionist, but like I still haven't, that you can't complete the whole map as you go, because there are things they force you to go back and do later as you unlock. So, I mean, I don't dilly dally, but I do like try to hit as much as I can. And I'm like 45 hours, 50 hours into it now, and I'm
Sheesh.
I think I'm basically it's an hour per percentage. I'm like halfway through the game at like 50 hours.
Holy cow.
Yeah. It's
Dang.
dense.
That's
But it's
pretty cool.
crazy how much they were able to just improve and add on the same formula. Um and the way they just like open that up is just awesome. And that's a great feeling too. I feel like when you don't plateau and you're just kind of moving through the story at that point,
Yeah.
like the story still feels like you're advancing mechanics and abilities and things like that. And it's just a proper balance between like story, open world, like still go do everything. I'm a little out leveled for the quests that I need to do, but it balances itself out.
Yeah.
They've done a really good job paying attention to like that type of gameplay for people.
It's impressive that they're able to do that with like the amount of hours that you are in the game.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
impressive.
still unlocking things, and I still feel like I'm missing like some key like abilities, key like understandings of mechanics, things like that. And the amount of like mechanics they added, like there's 6 specialization trees,
Oh wow.
and it's kind of built to where you can make decent progress through all of them. Like I have 2 heavy ones, 2 about half, and then like 2 like I barely touch.
Mhm.
And probably by the end of the game, like they're all gonna be maxed out. But like some of the play styles, like I'm like I don't even want to put points there because I don't play like that. But someone
Right.
else might completely play like that. So they have like 6 distinct play styles where you can do like hybrids of any of them. And so it's kind of like Skyrim in
Nice.
some sense to like how deep the skill trees go. So that's fun too. So there just hasn't been anything where I'm like, all right, I've like finished like an element of the game where I'm like, okay, I got this down. And then as you go through the game, you kind of or you have enough time and enough space to be like, well, now that I have enough points here and the gameplay kind of calls for it because the story is changing, like and the areas are changing, I kind of need to play differently. So it's a well crafted game and thought out in terms of yeah, there's a lot in it, but it's intentional. And the way
Mhm.
they design the story and the world, it's intentional to, you know, play different ways for different reasons at different times. So it's just super organic feeling. And I like games like that where you don't feel like you're just kind of in a linear mode.
Right. That's awesome to hear. One, that you're finally playing it, and two, that you're enjoying it so much, especially with like how much time you're able to get and like content you're able to get out of it, which is nice because like I'm in one of those weird. I don't know if it's weird or not, but excuse me, one of
Weird to
those
you.
um, seasons, so to speak, of my game playing life cycle of super long games being very intimidating to me because
Yeah.
I just don't have the amount of time like per night to sink into a game that I used to, right, when I was younger, per se. So I've been leaning more towards shorter games, like Valiant Hearts, 6, 8 hours, 10, 15 hour game, maybe a 20-hour game. Um, but I did play the first Horizon and enjoyed it. And I'm sure the second one is just as sweet, probably better. Um, so it's very enticing. And like super side note, I installed Red Dead 2 and started it, and it is very cool. But I'm still
It's
intimidated,
very
even though
cool.
yeah, exactly. And Chad's point I don't know if it made it in the Pale Beyond episode or when we were talking before or after when he was talking about Horizon, Kevin Costner's new movie. I did see that also in theater when I was in Ohio. And I was like, this makes me really want to play Red Dead 2. So his comment there was super accurate. Um, But like, even though I've installed it and started it, I'm still like, I know this game is massive, and it prevents me from playing it. And if that makes any sense, it might not make any sense to anyone, but
No,
um,
I know. I feel the same way, and that's why it took me so long to get into Horizon because I
mm,
knew it was going to be bigger and greater and better than the first one, which I loved a lot. But I'm glad you played Horizon 2, but like or Horizon 1 because that game had those issues where you reach your skill cap and you've completely cracked the code on elements of the game and you're really just kind
mhm,
of moving through the story and the only things you look forward to is like unlock they had the typical trope where it's like all right you get all the delves for example all the ancient ruins and you unlock that really dope armor. I don't know if you went and did that but weird end game gimmicks like that they had in the
mhm.
first one like 50 hours in, halfway through the story, probably. And it's like, I'm nowhere near any of those elements, other than the fact that I've mostly built out maybe one of the skill trees. But at that point, still not like scratching any feeling of this is routine.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, there's routine elements about it, but that's the fun thing.
Right.
Um,
I will say I streamed Horizon, and I kind of regret my playthrough of it because I kind of sped through it and didn't like fully enjoy and take my time and explore a bunch, do a lot of the side stuff. So the idea of replaying it has popped into my head a few times. I just haven't done it yet.
I mean, I might recommend just playing the Forbidden West at that point because you can get 20 hours out of Forbidden West and it's just like a epiphany of one
Oh yeah.
of Zero Dawn.
Oh,
Um
nice.
so I mean I would just kind of recommend if you have the story down from Zero Dawn,
Mhm.
just go ahead and start Forbidden West and enjoy 20 hours of the first game in Forbidden West as they intro you into this game. Um
Nice.
it's one of the most
Excuse me.
insane things I've seen in a game in terms of getting started. Um,
Getting started is beating like 40% of other games.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Forbidden West is just a phenomenal game.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and that's the thing though too is like at the same time like you don't want to like rush through it either because like it is one of those games where you kind of just take it in. And I like riding and walking places, well running places, but like running and riding my my mechzoids places because there's just like a lot of stuff that happens in the world and there's actually a decent level of you need to collect things to upgrade your stuff.
No.
And that's another cool thing they do. It's where it's like you can technically buy like purple armor, like like epic armor
Hmm.
early on in the game, but you're not gonna be able to upgrade it without putting in work or advancing the story. So it's like, yeah, you got epic loot, but or you bought like epic gear, but the point is you need to upgrade it to get anywhere. So they do a good job at that too, where it's like they acknowledge that you ended the first game as a badass and you start this game as a badass, but you need to become more badass and put in the work to earn it. It didn't do that weird thing where it's like, all right, reset, like you're
Yeah,
you're a
you're all
noob
of a
again.
sudden like suck. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you really walk into this game like, eh, basically where I think anyone who finished the story of Zero Dawn would be at. I
Hmm.
was
Nice.
mildly more badass in Zero Dawn because I like 100% in that game. That's the only time. That's the only like a little bit of like, hey, where's my. I had this really sweet armor that was basically a shield. I had like I had like an adaptive shield armor in Zero Dawn. I'm like, what happened to that? Whatever. I get why I don't have that anymore.
Right.
So great
Nice.
game, great game. It's
Excuse me.
gorgeous too. When you have 4K
Oh, I
TV,
bet.
PS5, it's
I imagine.
the sound design in that game is also amazing. The amount of sound that comes through the controller is probably half of the sounds that you
Oh
hear.
wow.
Yeah, lots of bow like all that
That's
stuff.
cool.
My
That's pretty.
wife can't stand it. Like the noises when you do the scan thing, like with your focus, like
Mm,
drives her nuts because she's like, "Why does your controller make all of that noise?" I'm like, "It's the stuff you would hear if you were the person playing."
yeah. She's like, well, I'm not playing, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. The other Well, the funny thing was is I put my headphones on and I didn't mute the sound bar, so she still heard it. I was like, "Oh my," and it still comes out of the controller, so
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh,
Whoops.
dang." I was like, "This sounds really cool though in the crushers."
Oh, dude, I love wearing these things. Obviously for gaming because I am a PC gamer now, and have been for several years. But man, I love watching movies and shows with these things on, especially. Uh, I don't know if yours.
1917,
Oh,
I'll put the crushers on for that because that sounds like a good movie
do yours? I
for the
mean,
crushies.
they turn on right to activate the bass and like
Um,
Bluetooth. Like,
I have to turn them on. Period. These newer ones you have to
okay,
turn on at all for
yeah.
them to do anything.
So like my tower is not Bluetooth capable because it's 5 years old or something. So when I'm plugged in with a cord like this, I don't have to turn them on, but I
Yep.
can also turn them on, and it just turns the bass on like mega overdrive, and then gives me more volume. Um, and my Roku remote is a wired connection, so I can have the bass just obliterate my eardrums and
Mm.
brain while I'm watching these shows, or I can just not have the bass boost on, but still get like really good quality sound with these. But holy crap, dude, with the bass on and watching like Godzilla or any of these war shows or movies, it's just like so crazy. um, yeah, so there were, 2 or 3, no, yeah, well, I'll just talk about 2 lately, things I watched, and then I have a couple of things I've played. But I saw Twisters in theater.
No way.
Um, it's a real fun movie to see in theater. I don't think I would watch it if I didn't see it in theater. Like, it's one of those movies where it's probably only enjoyable with the crazy surround sound with like a giant,
Right.
massively huge screen. Because the story is just absurd and stupid. Its acting is pretty terrible. It's just like
Uh,
nothing about it is like really clever or believable, but it is really cool seeing the tornadoes just like cause mass chaos and destruction on a huge screen with the surround sound. Would be even cooler to see in the 4DX type theater.
oh yeah.
That would be rad.
You'll
Um,
gain PTSD of like, why don't they have like Hurricane, like the Hurricane movie? Like they
Hurricane.
should have a scary like a Twister but Hurricane version.
Yeah, I mean, hurricanes
It's
are
like the perfect
indeed
storm.
scary, but like the spectacle of a hurricane can't really be appreciated unless you're like way zoomed out, because like a hurricane will cover like half of the state of Florida, but
Well, I
like a
guess
tornado is very
okay.
like
Day
a
After
mile or two
Tomorrow,
wide, right?
one of those disaster like end of the world ones did like have a hurricane like going bananas on something, but the point was the movie was a global
Yeah, yeah,
like scale. I get it,
yeah,
yeah. Whereas a Twister literally can chase one person down a road and it's
yeah, yeah,
terrifying.
yeah.
Mm.
Or like and then like a tsunami is just like a 200-foot wave. That's
Oh,
just
dude,
wild. Like, come on.
there has to be a movie called The Tsunami, and
Oh, I'm
it's
sure there is. I'm sure there is.
there's like 40 minutes of like the build up, and then the wave approaches for like 20 minutes.
It's actually like the 5th Sharknado
Oh
sequel.
yeah.
It's Sharknami, and they're just coming out of the tsunami. Um, I don't know if that's a movie. If it isn't, Sci-Fi Channel, feel free to reach out. We can collaborate. Yeah, it's a fun movie. I don't even know if it's in theaters still, but if it is, and you can see it on like a discount day, $5, you know,
Holy crap.
it would be fun.
This is so random. So if you type in tsunami movie,
Okay.
this movie from 2012 called The Impossible comes up.
Oh yes, is that about like Japan or something?
It is the story of a tourist family in Thailand caught in the destruction and chaotic
Hmm.
aftermath of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, starring Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. What year is this? Is he like 6 years old?
2012. And it has Harry Holland in it, and Sam Holland, and Ewan McGregor, and Naomi Watts.
Interesting.
What is happening? There's no
Very
way there's
interesting.
3 Hollands in it. Are those all 3 Holland brothers? They all look like each other. Okay,
Hmm.
Tom Holland, and then his 2 brothers, I assume, are Kid Intent 2 and Kid Intent 1.
That's hilarious.
Did not know he had 2 brothers.
But yeah, I mean, if you're into like the popcorn flicks Twister, it's a good time in the theater.
Twister.
The other thing, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about war stuff, but I'm looking at my list, and another show that we talked about in last week's episode about me wanting to watch was The Liberators. Do you remember talking about that? The like
Yes.
cell shaded, like half animated, over top of real life footage type show. I did watch it, 4 episodes, really interesting. I mean, it's 4 episodes.
2016.
Just watch it. It's great. It's a good show. Um, at times, I found myself wishing that it was just normal live action, while the visual style was very, you know, I don't want to say gimmicky. It was like novel, right? It was interesting, and then at times it wasn't, and then at times it was a little distracting. Uh, Overall, the story's good though, and I thought the characters were interesting, and it was acted pretty well. And it's based off of the thing I'm finding with a lot of these war movies, not even just like World War II, World War One movies. I watched Siege of Jadotville, whatever it's in the Congo, during the 60s. Interesting movie. Turns out it was telling the story of an actual like Irish squad that was deployed there, and the story of the actual event is absolutely insane. And it's just like every show or movie is based off of a squad or a general or a
Yeah.
soldier or whatever, and it's like cool to look them up after watching it and be like, oh, that person was real and they actually did something very similar to what I just watched, and that's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yeah, all like Dark 30, Black Hawk Down, like all
Hmm.
your classics. Like you watch the movies, and you're like, wow, that was insane. And then you look up the story, and you're like, oh wow, that's even more insane.
Yeah, exactly. So those two things, great. Liberators on Netflix. Twisters was in theater. Siege of Jadosville in Netflix on Netflix also.
Hotel Rwanda. That's just what I want to watch when you talk about the siege of
Yeah.
not the Congo, but it's Rwanda, and that's a pretty intense movie as it is.
Oh, I bet. Been playing a lot of Pokemon stuff. Obviously, go listen to Pokeboys. Not gonna bore you with the details here. Yeah, a lot of Pokemon. That's been a lot of my gaming time.
The past like 3 days this week, I've been trying to like tap into my Total War vibe. I don't know
Yeah.
why I didn't buy Total War Pharaoh when it was on sale in July, because they came out with it's $40. I think it was like
Mhm.
23 or something, or 28, but the latest and last patch apparently makes it a really really good for the more positive Total War community goers. They were like, yeah, this is one of the better Total Wars in a long time. But obviously you have all your negative Nancy's that are like, where's Medieval 3? So kind of sad about that. So I'll probably pick
Mm.
that up on the next sale. But meanwhile, I've been trying to poke at like Rome 2 with like a heavy overhaul mod, and Shogun 2. And I would like to get into Empire, but but I'm not
Do it.
sure.
Do
It
you
takes a
ever?
lot.
Did you ever start playing Frostpunk?
Yeah, I have an hour on that. It's a fun little. I need like a solid like 2 hours to like dive into that one. Like I really only get like 30 minutes, and then I get distracted or called away for some reason.
Hmm.
But yeah, Frostpunk is definitely a cool little like town builder simulator survival thing. And it's cool because it has like events and decisions, kind of like the Pale Beyond. So it has a very similar vibe,
Hmm.
and especially where we're talking about like survival and like heat is a big thing, obviously.
Oh no, I think I might have too much PTSD
I
after
know.
Pale.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like the last thing I was dealing with in Frostpunk was like the cookhouse wasn't warm enough because it was too freaking cold outside. So it's like, crap, I got research this tech to build like little heat generators that are off of the main generator. But it's a cool concept because, like, for whatever reason, there's this giant like heat generator that
Mhm.
you find that was there. Like, it's probably some old world tech, but you basically live around it and it provides the heat. And same thing, it's the Hammond ordeal from Pale Beyond. But it's like a radial city builder because everything's rings around it and you build roads and
Mm.
all that stuff. So it's kind of cool. So the further you are from that, the more support you need to like infrastructure you need to design. But it's cool because like people like the little people like push holes through the snow and that's their paths until you build roads. It also has kind of like a what's the bullet train? What's that movie?
Oh, Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer. It's got a Snowpiercer vibe to it as
Okay,
well.
okay.
And
I'm
it's
still
got that.
convinced that's like a sequel to Willy Wonka. Like,
Yeah, I'm down with that theory as well. But yeah, Frostpunk's a fun game. I definitely recommend. I haven't dove completely into it, but um, it's cool because they also have this whole thing system where the events happen, and it's like, yo, man, people be hungry and starving for too long. What's your response as like a leader? And you can either
mm,
be like, screw them, or hey, you know what, we will try our best to get most of them fed, or we'll get everyone fed. I picked everyone fed because I'm like, yeah, I'm a nice guy, but it's like, hey, you got 3 days to do this,
yeah, I'm a
or
nice
people.
guy.
But it binds your responses to like missions. So like it was like, and then all of a sudden it was like, feed everyone out of starvation in the next 3 days. I'm like, oh crap.
Whoops.
So like it kind of holds you to your decisions as
Hmm,
well, and they become kind of missions. So it has
nice.
that kind of Pale Beyond vibe to it as well.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Aside from Pokemon, I most recently beat Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which was a pretty fun game. I
Is
started
that
that
a
actually.
sequel to The Blind Forest?
It is, yeah. Um, I started it actually like January or February, and then
Mm.
um, just stopped for some reason. But it's a good sequel. They add a lot of new mechanics and stuff to it. It's just as visually beautiful as the first one, and the music is really good. The platforming is really good. The story they're telling is just as interesting and picks up kind of where the first one left off with the same characters and stuff. Um, Another style of game that I don't typically get into. I'm not a big platformer slash Metroidvania type gamer. Uh, but the two Ori games are so good. They're so good. If
They're platformers?
yes,
Oh, that's cool.
um, and they are perfect for the Steam Deck. Like that's how I played both of them. If you can get them on sale, which they usually go on sale pretty cheap, especially the first one, definitely recommend them.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Look at that. That's
fun,
cool.
fun games. They look amazing. And this one was very hard. The final boss alone, I spent literally 1 hour just replaying that fight and trying to beat it. It was insane. It was extremely difficult and then extremely satisfying when I finally beat it. That was a fun game. I also, right before I left to come up to Ohio in July, and while I was there, I got really into Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, which is a Hades like roguelite. If you are familiar with Deep Rock Galactic, it's that same universe, just a top down bullet hell type game where you're you land on a planet and you are just mining ore resources and killing bugs. It's super fun. The missions, they're not very long, so it's similar to Hades, where one, it's another game that's perfect for the Steam Deck, and easily, like, you could play 5, 10, 15, 45 minutes, put it to sleep, pick it back up later. There isn't a narrative. It's just a repetitive level grind. There's 4 different playable character classes. There are, like, your main missions. I think there's 4, maybe 5 planets, and then each planet has like 4 or 5 different missions that get progressively more difficult. Each mission has 5 levels to it. So there's a lot to play through, and then they have a bunch of other modes where you can only play as this class, and the map is significantly smaller, and there's more enemies, and there's like challenges.
Right.
You start with this weapon and whatever. So there's a bunch of different like challenge type modes you can do, which are fun. And as you complete them, you unlock perks for the class. Like, each level is like, for example, there's one set of missions where each level you beat, you get like a boost in experience gained, and like, pickup radius, or like critical hit chance and critical damage,
Right.
stuff like that. So it's cool to like bounce between, if you find a class that you like, and then you can go to the class specific missions and kind of gain some perks for it. Doing those, they're a little bit harder,
Getting
a little
strong.
different. It's really fun. That's another game. It's regularly just $9.99, but it'll go on sale occasionally for like $7 or whatever. But for $10, it's a great game. I've sunk probably like 20 hours into it alone, just playing it here and there. The only downfall with playing on the Steam Deck, as you progress through the missions, the amount of bugs that appear on the screen are like, it's ridiculous how many enemies are on the screen. So the amount of assets at times really drains it doesn't affect the performance. Like,
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
just
slow
gets
down or
hot.
get choppy, but your battery will just drain. So keep that in mind. It also plays great just on the PC. It's fun to play like that.
Sick.
But the game that kind of took me by surprise, of late, was ironically also another game that I bought a while ago. I bought it on the Switch, played it for like an hour and a half or so, and was like, I can't play this game. Like, I'm not liking it. I thought I would like it. I didn't like it. I ended up buying it on Steam during a sale recently, maybe within the last 6 months or a year. I bought the like definitive edition or whatever. It came with the DLC for like $3. I was like, I can't pass this up. It's verified on the deck. So I bought it, decided to fire it up on the deck, and I loved it. I think it was just like a Switch performance issue why I couldn't get into it the first time. Anyways, that game's called Tales of Iron. I almost said Iron Tales again. But Tales of Iron, it's a side-scrolling action RPG.
Darkest
Almost.
Dungeon?
Not really. It's almost like Souls-like. But you play as a rat prince The story is actually really cool. I really, really like it a lot. Um, and the Rat Kingdom has been at war with the Frog Kingdom for a long time. And the beginning of the story, like you're at this like celebration or whatever, about to be like I forget what exactly. It's some like ceremony or whatever.
Red Wedding.
And the frogs attack and kill the king, who's your dad, and then like destroy the kingdom. And the whole game, you're the prince and now king of the rats, and you're like rebuilding the kingdom and like trying to rescue the people from the
Right.
kingdom. It's a really cool game. The another art style that's really really good. Um, and the way the story is told, it's like a narrator just giving you the story exposition as you go through the game occasionally. It's done really well. It's a good game. There's a sequel coming soon. I think they had a demo, um, I don't know, over the summer sale or something. I'll find what the sequel's called. But another game that you should wish list, and when it goes on sale, you should pick it up because it's great on the deck, and it's a cute little action RPG.
Normally $24, $25. Ridiculous.
Okay, so the sequel is Tales of Iron 2 with Whiskers of Winter. And it just says coming soon on Steam.
Oh, okay.
But
Dope.
Tales of
I
Iron,
love
fun
the
game.
art style. It's cool.
Oh
And
yeah.
then also like it looks like the like stat menus have a very old school look to
Mhm.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's a clever little game. It's very charming and brutal, and I just love the fact that like the rats and frogs are like
beefing.
eternal enemies, and it's pretty great.
Someone got to do it.
But yeah, I mean that basically is it for me. I bought Classified France 44, but just got through the tutorial and haven't dove back in. I think that'll be a fun game. It's a turn-based tactics, shocking World War II game, but yeah. You got anything else?
I don't think so. Those are my big ticket items.
Nice. Well, how do you want to end this thing?
Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna tell everyone to subscribe
You
because
should
that's
do
very
that.
important to get subscribed. We won't blast you with push notifications when we post. It'll just show up in your algo
Yeah.
when needed because that stuff's annoying. Go to Patreon. Sign up Patreon. There's always content out there. And
Patreon.com/showboys podcast.
yep. And then be on the lookout for our seasonal content. As Mike said earlier, we have the Demon Slayer companion series coming out. That'll be a quick one. Chad and his son, they'll crush 2 episodes an episode and blaze through that in 4 weeks. So everyone's all caught up.
Tangentially related,
Yep.
James and I are firing back up the other Demon Slayer series
Oh yeah.
on The Chosen. That will be like a bonus thing that will push the episodes out either
That's
Saturdays or
Demon
Sundays or something.
Preventer. That's
Well,
not Demon Slayer. Demon
he's
Preventer.
be slaying some demons too,
Oh
man.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, we'll be back talking about season 4 of The Chosen soon. TM. But yeah, be looking out for Demon Slayer, The Chosen. Dad, feel free to edit this part out if you want, or you can leave it in. I don't care. But I'm digging the seasonal content switcheroo that we're doing. It's pretty cool to just be able to like hyper focus on one thing for a short chunk of time and then
Oh yeah.
do what we've done the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I think Demon Slayer will probably start up in September. But yeah, we'll still have these episodes of random what's watching, what's playing, or even talking about specific stuff like World War II or whatever movie we watch or whatever game or whatever meta,
Meta.
topic pops up. So we hope you're enjoying that too, and that we'll continue to do this from time to time.
I need someone to
And,
watch the Bears so we can do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, I think we probably will also be doing a season on Arcane, which I'm very excited for.
In Andor.
Oh yes, in
2025.
Andor. 100% doing Andor. I would be down of doing even before season 2 comes out, doing a season on season 1.
Let's do that.
Let's go.
This winter, like this November, October,
sometime. we should do that.
Q4. We're doing Andor season 1 because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, maybe we can convince Mr. Bicycle joining us for that season. That would be rowdy.
Let's talk the bicycle.
Nice.
All
right. Well, yeah, subscribe and go check out Pokeboys featured channel down below if you like Pokemon. We talk about it a whole bunch.
Click.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Click.
Are you really going to go watch 1917?
Not with an hour left in my waking time. It's a 2-hour movie. Unless you tell me there is a perfect stop point in the middle.